Welcome to Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet. Join Janet and her friends as they gather at the intersection of consciousness and self-experience. What being consciousness in human form is all about. Access heart-centered awareness with them and feel the difference in the moment that will last a lifetime.
Hello and welcome to Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet. I'm Janet Barrett, and this is my invitation to you to join me and my featured guest in a state of active transcendent reality for the next while. We are in heart-centered awareness, the field of unified consciousness. We call it many things. It is what being present is all about. And our beliefs color and shape the words that we use. I am finding that anymore I just use consciousness as it is the energetically cleanest for me personally. It is about the infinite and undefined as reality that is active and alive with potential engaged. You will feel different as we go along. As we engage, this is a time of let. So do that right now. Let. That's it. Just let. Be in awareness that you have a breath. Let yourself breathe. Then let yourself notice your heartbeat. And then let. Allow the two, your breathing and heartbeat, to synchronize, infusing one into the other, and notice what that feels like. And meanwhile, let. Just hunker down into a state of let. Out beyond your sense of self, inside of you is this reality. It is a freedom of thought, of having to think in certain patterns of limits and definitions and beliefs. It is the land of potential and possibilities, miracles, and magic. It is your inner truth. It is consciousness. My guest this time is my friend George Thomas from episode 33, and we are going to be chatting about how a conscious mind engages matter. The reality of healing is being able to see into and beyond what is in any individual human designed body. All life dynamics are flows of information. Illness and disease are disruptions in the flow. George is a practitioner of focused mind healing and other quantum healing modalities. His website is iwantjoy.com, which tells you all about him and life. Together you will feel, as we share, what the updated version of psychic healing in the quantum realm is all about. It is the power of imagination to alter physical tissue. Our language this time is of divinity, angels, prayer, blessings, faith, and action. The discipline of choosing to change one's thoughts and employing your imagination. We are love in action, and what comes is magnetic attraction to our beliefs and truths. George's reference for all of us humans is what he calls IMDs, individual manifestations of divinity. What we feel with George is his energy and sense of spirit. There is no denying it. He sweeps us up with his vitality, interest, and excitement about life and how to be in form. He is full of information and fearless about what the world will present us to deal with. He knows what it is to face adversity and to use it to enhance one's life. George Thomas is a practitioner of multiple healing modalities, including focused mind healing and the laying on of hands. He was certified as a practitioner of Matrix Energetic in 2011 and received certification from the Horizon Foundation as a hypnotist that same year. He is an ex-radio program director, having done commercial and industrial voiceover work since 1989. He gained his love of teaching in the dance business as instructor with the Fred Astaire and Arthur Murray Studios. He offers through his website and YouTube channel free content and training in meditation and faster EFT. His first book, Out of the Blue, Miracles for Beginners, is available on Amazon. And at his website, www.iwantjoy.com. Since 2010, George has been a practitioner working in clinical settings and remotely by appointment. All his contacts of email, phone, YouTube channel, and Facebook page connections will be listed at the end of this episode and to be found on the episode webpage at www.janetandbeyond.com. Hello, George. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me today. It's good to be joined.
Yeah, it's a wonderful pleasure. And that's the truth of it, everyone. This field with George, he's really adept at being in a shared reality with us. So, and with you and with everyone. So, he's I think you're in Texas these days, right?
Galveston. I'm on the island.
Oh, how lovely. We'll have to talk about that sometime. I'd love to go there. And Boyd is in Kansas, so there is kind of the same time zone, and I'm over here in Portland, Oregon. And the reason I mention it is because the fun. We all appreciate how small the world has become, but what we're looking at it is from the state of that reality, that active transformational reality, transcendent reality that we're together in. And wherever you are, and for what time and space that might be that you're listening to our voices, this state is radiating out. And there is physically the miles that separate us. And that means nothing in the context of the world that we're engaging in here, in this reality. So, all right, we're going to talk with George today about the updated versions of what psychic healing in terms of consciousness and conscious mind and conscious realities are all about. And psychic healing has been something that's been around for a long time, and George is going to help explain all that. So, everyone, let's just relax. Just take this moment. There you go. All right. George is there. Okay, he's got us. Okay, so just notice your breathing. Doesn't have to be any special breath. Just pay attention a little bit. There you go. And anchor into the heartbeat. You got one of those too. Can't have one without the other, or if you do, you have compromise going on. And then just allow the breathing to infuse the heart, and allow the heartbeat to infuse the breath. So we bring our awareness of our beingness into our being. Awareness is always there, but we're not always aware of our awareness. So we'll take this time, feel that relaxation that happens, and just put the you in the story and mind over there. They're good. They're safe over there. They may be different by the time they engage us again, but they're there for now. There we go. I think people are tired, aren't they, George?
If they haven't had enough sleep, yes.
Well, I think there's a lot of textural.
There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of fear. There's a tremendous amount of fear being generated and attempting to infuse that into the population via all manner of media.
Okay.
And sure enough, we're pretty much, the collective consciousness is doing that, and we can try to resist it. But hello, if there's a hurricane in your neighborhood, and you go outside and say, "Oh no, it's not going to affect me. I'll just be positive." No, it's a hurricane, buddy.
Yeah.
So things affect everybody to one degree or another.
Right. So, and just noticing. And what are you noticing right in this moment, George?
Me, the idea of breathing in love, healing, and forgiveness, and breathing out lack and limitation.
Wonderful. Yeah, that sounds just delightful. Okay, so let's spend some time noticing what it is, because we're thinking in terms of healing, which is always one directive of energy. And what you do something called focused. Tell me what it is again. I don't. It's focused mind healing. There you go. And you've been doing that for a number of years now. And what led you to find that as your cup of tea? And what is it all about?
Well, Ray Hodges led me to it, and the Ozark Research Institute, ozarkresearch.org is the website. Harold McCoy was my teacher, and he has a book that you can purchase. It's called The Power of Focused Mind Healing. And the reason that I glommed onto it is because it works, and because I've had experience. The wonderful thing about whatever the modality is, if you have a modality that works and you have used it on humans and they have given you the feedback and said, wow, that's better.
That works.
Wow, because one of the things that I do is I integrate, as you know, matrix energetics and focused mind healing and faster EFT and the different modalities, because everybody's different. But the wonderful thing about focused mind healing is it can work on anything and there are no limitations. And the great thing about Harold and his teaching and the way that he taught, he's not, I don't know if he's passed, but if you could ever meet a less presumptuous individual, he's got, I want to take a minute if I can and read from what he wrote a long, long time ago. He's talking about increasing numbers of people now find they have ability to do healing over long distances. Edgar Cayce told us back in the 60s and 70s and 50s or whenever he wrote it, that time and space are concepts for us, but with God, time and space are just not a concern. Okay, you talked earlier about you're on the Pacific time zone, I'm in Central and so forth, and I have clients in India. And I worked with them for a while. And go, oh, yeah, that's better. My neck doesn't hurt anymore. Now, I didn't do any allopathic medicine. I didn't reach through time and space. Yes, I did. And change the energy, because supposedly everything is energy, to revise that, recontextualize that, and help the mind of the person. Because as the character portraying George Harrison in the movie Yellow Submarine said, it's all in the mind. So that's what we work with. So Harold wrote this, I don't know how long ago. He says, if thoughts actually have the power to bend spoons, divert streams of water hundreds of thousands of miles away, and cause spiritual healing to take place because someone intends with thought for that healing to happen, no matter what the distance, then we must realize that our life will never be the same. It will be vastly better. And then he goes on to explain this led him to establish Ozark Research Institute and so forth. And it's a not-for-profit institute in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I've got, the only DVDs that are available to get, and there's a book and so forth, and have been practicing this, like you say, for a number of years. And the thing that I say specific to this protocol, okay, the tapping is a different protocol, matrix energetics is different, but specifically with focused mind healing, we use imagination, okay, and intention. The four things, like I tell people, the powerful things in our universe. Number one is love. It's just supersedes, supplants, and infuses, and is more powerful than anything else. It will always win. It may take some time, okay, and we may resist it, and our clients may resist it, but it works. And the second one is intention.
Love works. Yeah.
It's intention. What is it you're intending? And if your intention is for the highest, best possible good, long-term outcomes, et cetera, for the client or yourself or whoever, whatever you're working on, if it's the cotter pin, like maybe we talked about last time, it's a cotter pin that wouldn't work on the back of my riding lawnmower, and then I two-pointed it and suddenly it worked. The intention is for things to work like you would like them to work. But
as
love, intention, emotion, which is so powerful. I have a friend who lives in a world, or has lived in a world, of suppressing emotion and just not allowing those things. I don't want to get too happy, I'm going to get too sad. That's okay. I don't recommend those things. However, you can channel emotion because it's very powerful. And the last one, of course, is imagination. We don't have man-powered flight without the Wright brothers imagining that they could build a machine heavier than air that could go up in the air and stay there. First, imagination. Okay, so love, intention, imagination, and emotion. And with focused mind healing, whether, and this is what I tell people, whether I created it or I discovered it is just less important to me. The fact that it's a useful thing. Mm-hmm. There are useful tools that you can say the angels will present to you, or your higher self will make available, or whatever you want to call it. But the things that we can't see with our physical eyes, or hear with our physical ears, or feel with our physical fingers, that exist nonetheless. I mean, the right. Visible spectrum is such a teeny tiny part of the huge energy that's available to all of us, and it always will be, but we're starting to learn about it, and this is so awesome. This is so awesome, because it's like Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut, wrote here not that long. He's passed. Also, some of the people have passed, but the good news is you can still talk to them. That's a topic for another day. But anyway, the point being that he noticed, it's all one thing. It's all one thing. Different aspects. You could take like a diamond ring, a beautiful diamond with all the different facets. All the different facets are of the same stone, but each different facet is a little bit different. And so we're all facets. I talk to people. You there? Hello, you. What's your name, young lady?
I'm Janet.
Janet, you're an individual manifestation of a divinity. I call people IMDs. You're an individual manifestation of divinity, and we're different. We don't look the same. You put Janet and George next to each other, and obviously they're different. They look different. They sound different. Okay, they're different. But we're different aspects of all that is. And talking earlier about this current situation that we've been enduring or enjoying, depending on your attitude.
Your viewpoint, yeah.
It's that
one of those facets. It's one of those facets.
The collective is doing what they're doing. And bless their hearts, people are going to experience what they're used to and what their interest is on. Whether you're interested in how bad things can be, or you're interested in giving your attention to how good things can be. And darn it, it's the truth. Well, I tried positive thinking for 3 whole days and it just doesn't work. Well, yeah, 3 whole days.
Positive about it.
Come on. Anyway, so focused mind healing, we use different tools to make the changes in the physical, muscles, tendons, bones, things like that, and it works. And one can go to ORI and get the DVDs and so forth, and to hear the stories of, do some research. Anybody can do research about anything, that miraculous things happen, that, wow, how did this happen? Well, as Mike Dooley told us, the how is a domain of the universe. So we're not going to worry about how. We're just going to use this modality and go, okay, here's what happened. So now, if you're ready, I'm going to tell you a story about focused mind healing and my experience.
Well, hold right there, George. Okay. All right. So let me check the field here a bit. And everyone, in just being open, so George introduces a lot of stuff to us because he has a lot of references and areas of interest. And, there we go. And we're blessed that he's willing to share it all with us. So in just noticing, we're talking about how we have a physical body and all the other influences, and all of it comes down to, we can use the term spirit, we have lots of terms to describe the unseen world that we're all in. So if you come from the viewpoint that you're a spiritual essence being in a form, right, and we have the form, that what you're made of may look different on the outside, but pretty much on the inside there's going to be a pattern of flow designed human. And beyond that, or inside of that, even inside of that, as you go deeper and deeper, we're connecting like we do in our quantum levels of where it's all the same, and it's all just bits and pieces of photons with a little bit of biomass playing out in different patterns and resonances. And that's what consciousness technologies and some of the techniques that George is very, very adept at. And in using those, playing on those fields like the EFT and the matrix energetics and the focused mind healing, they all have a particular foundation, and then they have a form that's on top of it. different strokes for different folks, works different ways, and it maybe have more comfort or have more familiarity, or they speak to your truth down in there in a different way. So he's opened us up, thank you very much, George, to lots of different influences. So you just be there, be open, and just allow for those things that are inside that hold some kind of energy charge. And that's usually what we'll say. It has a charge to us. So that means that there's a reaction in there, or there's a trigger going on. And so instead of just, ooh, I don't want to feel that, or oops, I'm right deep into it, we're just going to observe that trigger and that charge and just let it be. Not going to do anything with it. We're just going to let it be. And we'll notice over the next while, as we play with George here and he plays with us, what happens. So in being open, and we say definitely open-hearted, not so much open-minded, because mine went out the window over there anyway. So in just being open-hearted, he talked about love, he talked about intention, he talked about a couple other things there that I'm not dragging, that are always engaged to some degree. And we are the chemist, we are the doctor, we are the creator, we are the manifester of how those elements work together at any one moment. So we're playing from the viewpoint, and these are old traditions when they didn't have doctors. Before they had doctors. So what you had was a sense of energy around you. And what you can do with that energy around you and in you. All right, does that kind of bring us up to speed there, George?
I'm here. The cruise control is set.
Okay. All righty. So, all right. So how does this come into play? These are old traditions I think we're speaking of, but in an updated form, we call it, matrix energetics or focused mind healing, etc. So they all are working together. And what is it you enjoy about focused mind healing per se? That really cooks you, that gets you going.
It's understandable to folks. It's like you're saying, the different technologies or consciousness technologies, because one of the things I do is hypnosis, and I don't do hypnosis to everybody I see, because obviously there's constraints and so forth. Nor do I do laying on of hands to everybody I see, because I'm doing remote work and I'm not laying my hands on them. But to give you an example, since everybody's different, you alluded to this a minute ago when you were talking about that what fits each person. Everybody's different, and Bob will be receptive to this modality, and Shirley, on the other hand, really prefers Reiki. And Bobby over here says, no, I'm not. The only thing that's ever worked with me is tapping. Okay, fine. So to tell you a quick story, this is years ago. We used to do a once a month, free to the public for a donation, so forth, a practice of matrix energetics and Yuan method and so forth. So anyway, my friend Ray Hodges and myself and my wife went, and this gentleman had a condition and asked for help, and she said, okay, fine. So Doc Vetter would go around the room and say, hey, here, George, you take this one, Ray, you take that one, I'll work on this one, so forth. So anyway, cutting to the chase, so to speak, this gentleman has some sort of problem. He had been addicted to drugs and so forth and so on, different problems. And so he had something, a condition where his blood wasn't as pure as he would like it to be to help him to be in optimal health. Anyway, long story short, Ray started working on him. He came over to me and just whispered to me, okay, he needs a valve installed. Okay, so he and I knew what that meant. Okay, so anyway, so I go over there, and the guy's on the floor by now because we've laid hands on him or interacted with him energetically. So he's just lying down, not passed out, but he's relaxed. And so I bend over them, and I'm making these motions as if I were installing a valve and a filter, okay, a filter between his heart and the rest of his body, the circulation. Okay, put this valve on the main artery or whatever it is there, and this valve filters, and then one tube from the filter going out to the urethra so he could get rid of whatever waste he didn't need anymore. And so anyway, so I'm doing this thing, and then I finish, so you get it done, which you're familiar with and some of your listeners are familiar with. We get, okay, that's done. And so we finished, and then one of the fellows there was, wait a minute. That was clearly an operation. Something shamanic is going on. That was clearly an operation. So yeah, that's what we do. Because working outside the body, as if we're working in the body, because we're not going to cut, we're not going to do allopathic medicine or surgery, but you can call it psychic surgery. So we just stopped time, took the two ends of a main artery there, put this filter in, attached it, sealed it, healed it, sent a tube down to where he could get rid of the waste, and then that will filter his blood, and he feels all better. And over time, the situation, usually it's over time, with focused mind healing specifically, usually it's over time, things happen, and just the problem that was formerly there just isn't there anymore. So this was one incident, but I could tell you stories about some awesome things.
Right. So the ability is in allowing yourself to get past all kinds of different things, right? Most of us hold life to be pretty rigid in rules and etc. And what you're doing is what we're all doing in this transformational reality state, is being open to not buying into the time-space dictates.
And open so to what's presented to you. Because what Harold used to teach is, hey, they, or the system, as he called it, whether you call it angels or whatever else, will deliver to you the things that you can use, because we have to do our part, but they will deliver to you. I had one situation, maybe I related this last time, where an intact eyeball and all the musculature and replacing the body was delivered to me in space. Okay, put this new one in. Okay, so we drop our own personal doubt. What I used to say, what is it you do? I get myself out of the way, help the client get out of their way, and then let divinity have its way with it. And then you let go of needing to be right, let go of worrying about what someone else is thinking, because if there's more than two people there, someone is going to be, what's going on? They're going to be critical, they're going to be judged. Okay, they can think whatever they think. It's like Andy Andrews told the story about how they decided whether Mother Teresa is going to be a saint or not. There's going to be people talking bad about Mother Teresa. You and I, what chance? Don't worry about what they're thinking or what they're doing. But they present things to you. I was rewatching a DVD from Harold here, I guess a few weeks ago. And it was, I didn't remember that. There is something that's presented to us to work with. Usually what he talked about is they will present you with a little workspace when you're working with a body, but it's remotely, or usually it's remotely. If you're in the same room, it's remotely. But anyway, a tray there with forceps and sutures and whatever the kind of things, physical things, because he's mechanical is the way he thought. Everybody thinks differently. And sees things and perceives things differently. But they present to you, okay, here's a thing, a piece of stuff. Okay, it's sort of like plastic, clear, very nice light, made out of light or whatever. And you could take this piece of stuff and use it and just cause it to take the place of whatever's, like if there's a broken bone or a fracture on a bone, you just mold this into that bone and you smooth it out with your hands and smooth it till it takes the place there, and then you're done. And if you've opened them up, you close them up with people tape, which is another thing that the angels deliver to you.
I love it. People tape, okay.
People tape. Because humans, we're working with humans. So you unzip their head, okay? You open up the top of their skull, pour in the brain cleaner restorer, and let that bubble up and clean that up, and then vacuum out the residue. And then when you're finished, you zip back up, cover it with people tape, boom, cover that, boom, and then they're done.
Well, that was simple enough. Okay, so everybody, what George is so eloquently describing is a whole host of different healing techniques that are traditional or non-traditional, depending upon where the tradition is, about how to interact with your own beingness and your own form. And that it's all non-invasive in the sense that you're not cutting someone open. What you're doing is you're employing within a state framework, right? Okay, that reality is not what you think it is. So, and he's described how you have to get out of your own way. And it's always in a state of do no harm. And there's lots of rules, I guess we're going to say, about how we interact with each other. So,
but like Richard tells you, your intention is so important. Like I say, love intention. What is your intention? Not do no harm. Yeah, that's okay. That's a negative thing. But it has to be okay. I want to go for the best, highest good of this client, whatever they are. And during the course of the quote treatment of the thing that you thought you were going to do when you began this process, they're going to bring you. Oh, here's this. Oh, why didn't I think of that? Because it wasn't time yet. Oh, okay, so here's this new thing that you can do. Oh, give an example. I had a session with a lady here a couple of weeks ago that I had never heard before. One of the things on my YouTube channel, this is free for everybody. There's a protection protocol, and it walks you through to protect yourself because, believe it or not, evil does exist. Should we all be afraid? No, because there's powerful forces working on your behalf. There's holy angels, there's source energy, there's guardian angels, higher selves, spirit guides. There's all manner of beings and energies and entities that love you and want the best for you, not the least of which are your ancestors who were standing on the sidelines cheering you on if we could only hear them. But anyway, so have the new, here, we'll do this. Oh, I had never considered that before. Well, it wasn't time. And for this client, it's perfect because everybody's different and perceives things differently. And I can try this with someone else and they go, that doesn't make any sense. Hieroglyphics or uniform writing. No, I don't do uniform writing. Well, neither do I, but they said use it here. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, everything is encoded information when you're in this play state, right? And so it doesn't have any reference to you necessarily. It's nice when it does, but there's always, when you're just being open, information will show up that's particular for the person that you're engaged with. It's their references, not so much our own references. And that's what you meant about getting out of our own way, because we carry our expectations forward. Oh, this worked with this person, it'll work here. Not necessarily, because it's also already a presumption you're working out of. And so we have to let go of those things and just be present. And when I think in terms of psychic healers out in New Guinea or in Brazil and John of God and those kind of different situations, what they do for the way they do it works for what and where they are. There's a culture around it. There's a already built-in belief system. There's an acceptance that's already present. Then you have someone who comes from a different tradition outside of it, and they have a tendency to judge. They want the results, but they get caught up in the presentation of it. And how well they navigate that creates what shows up, right? And so the work can be inherent in its beauty. You take it out of it and put it in another context, and it can all fall apart or do something different. Not that the work isn't still there, but because there's the belief systems around it that start to eat away at it. And so often, and you and I both know about how we've helped people in certain situations, whether it be a tumor or an earache, it doesn't really matter. Something was there. We work with them, something changes, and then something comes back. Because the belief system, because they're operating out of a belief system, they're not operating out of a place of trust and faith and wholeness to hold that. And it's because the field will collapse and back into patterns. And so that happens, and we have to appreciate that about people.
That brings to mind the Louise Hay story, which a lot of people know. Louise Hay, a lot of people know who she was, and she worked with this person and helped their eyesight. And they woke up this morning and they called Louise and they said, Louise, you're not going to believe this. I woke up this morning, I looked for my glasses and I realized I don't need them. I can see everything. Everything's great. I don't believe it. I just can't believe it. He says, stop saying that. No, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I'm looking and I don't need I just stopped saying that. And so, guess what? Over a period of time, I knew it wouldn't last. Well,
right.
It's like Henry Ford. If you think you can, you can't. Great. If you think you can't, either way, you're right. And the trick for us is to incrementally change what we think, therefore change what we believe, therefore change our behavior, and then change what we will allow. Because the huge thing that it took me a while to catch on to, I admit it, I didn't. Oh, look! I'll just go lay hands on people to get over there. Quick! Let me lay my hands on you. Nope. Because people will only receive what they're willing to receive. If they're not ready to, I broke my arm. Well, your arm can be healed, but you probably don't believe that. So you better go to a doctor and have it set. So it'll take time. And then, it's so much according to your belief, it'll be done for you. Hello, have I heard that before? Seems in the Bible. Oh yeah.
Well, I think what we run up to when we are involved in all this, and probably medical people that are always in a situation, dealing with patients, and so you have to extend patience with patients. That self-care, we're it's a very challenging area. And sometimes that broken arm is important because of how you have to be different in your world and where awareness will strike you at any time in that process. And also what changes in your world with
and there's lessons to be learned. There's lessons to be learned.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, if we just allow that anything we go through is enriching, which is basically my viewpoint. So I put up with a lot of stuff because I realize that works in my framework. It also works in my framework to not have to have a lot of experience. But when the experience shows up, I'm willing to embrace it. So everyone, in noticing for yourself what might be opening up, and I'm going to just use the word belief, and notice how hard and rigid that might be. Or notice if it's like a wall or if it's like a door. Just in saying the word belief, notice what happens. For me, I can just feel my hand go through the word belief. So it serves me when it serves me, and when it doesn't, it doesn't. That's my frame of reference for that. Who we are, those myths, those stories, those agendas, those perceptions, those biases that self is involved in, that mind is involved in, creates beliefs, projections. They're just projections. So one thing I think we can really offer people, George, is how it's okay to have a belief. Just notice how it serves you.
Yeah.
And what do you do? And we know lots of situations where people get into trouble someplace, there isn't a lot of help available, and you've got to pull on what you've got your inner resources aligned with. Now, you might be up a cliff and have to chop your arm off to get out of there, and you can still bleed to death, and the guy didn't, but he had to let go of his arm, right? He had to let go of how he was hanging on, which I think is such a great metaphor for things. Yeah. And he survived, right?
Yep.
So we have to make at times choices, and how those beliefs are serving us will create the world we live in. So George is doing such a marvelous job at sharing with us an expansion of what we think.
Well, just to dovetail on what you're saying, I have a YouTube video that's called "You're Right, You Can Get Better," and I just go from the premise that you're right. Each of us is going to prove to ourselves that what we believe is true, because we will draw to our experience circumstances that prove that, see, I was told from when I was a little kid I'm accident prone, and sure enough, I stubbed my toe on the coffee table. Well, is it possible you can overcome that and transform and have a different experience if you change your mind Not instantly. My magic wand is still in the shop. They told me, 3 weeks. No, I'm kidding. But to fix something like that, it incrementally change what we think. Open yourself up. Be open to more. You hear something, and that's why research is so awesome. There's so much, like Michael Stellitano, for example, your healing hands. Michael Stellitano taught me about laying on of hands. Remote energy healer. Your folks can Google him, and he's got videos where he shows some of the stuff that he does. And he had a DVD that he sold. I don't know if you can buy that anymore, but he teaches you the protocols to tune in, vibrationally resonant with compassion. You tune into that frequency, and then you allow that to flow into your client or yourself. You talked about self-healing. I've had some real health issues, okay? And thank God, there seemed to be not that much of a problem now, thank you, God. But it didn't happen overnight, okay? And I used some focused mind healing, and I used some guided meditation, and this and that, and so forth and so on. But as you say, with the broken arm, everything that comes into our life, there's likely an opportunity for us to learn something about it. The broken arm, or the flat tire, or the whatever else. We're constantly given one of the things. One of the many consciousness technologies is called QHHT. That Dolores Cannon gave it, and without going into that deeply, just the point being that higher self, source energy, God, whatever name you want to put on it, loves you and wants you better, but also understands what your purpose is, what your soul wants, what you really want to do, what you're here to do that you forgot about. Some people would posit that we come into these bodies and have voluntary amnesia. What about all the previous lives? What about all the stuff that we knew that we learned from former lives? Well, you got that information, we just don't access it. Oh, okay. That's true. Well, you can either believe it's true or not. You can believe in past lives or not, because what they'll tell you is focus on your present one. This is where you are right now, okay? Yeah, right. But do you do past life regression? The only way I would ever do a past life regression with someone is to get on the way to talking to the higher self, or the presence of God, or whatever you want to call it. Because former lives, you can believe in all that stuff, but you had lessons. But we have lessons in this lifetime. Right. You had we had a lesson yesterday if you were paying attention. If we were paying attention, that thing that happened to us, last week. Oh yeah, that thing. Yeah. Well, are we incorporating that? Are we growing from it? Did we see it from a different perspective? Or are we taking this and going, oh, you mean I didn't have to get all upset with that guy cut in front of me? I could have just gone, well, I hope he doesn't crash, and send him a silent blessing, rather than get my stress levels up, all the cortisol is going on, stress and adrenal secretions, and right. I don't need all those things. They're not really serving me. And it's a practice. Yeah.
It's choice. It's choosing to make
and once we realize that we do have that option, we have the opportunity and the option to choose. We have 24/7, 366, the opportunity to choose life, right? Or to choose evil, or to choose to do harm. And I'm habitually. Yeah, well, you're habitually. You don't suck your thumb anymore, do you? Okay, then don't talk to me about how you can't fix a habit. Okay, I'm habitually a complainer. Well, just stop doing that. Easy for you to say. No, it's not easy for me to say. Work my tail feathers off to get where I am. But I realize that it's called the work. Byron Katie calls it the work. Dr. Dispenza says, do the work. It's work. Okay, but the results are so awesome. The rewards are so awesome. It's worth every calorie expended.
Exactly. So let's just notice, everyone, if your beliefs now are softer in some way, and what you see, because how this is where it goes, is what you believe is what you manifest, gives you the parameters. And someplace back there, there was a statement that somebody made about rats. It's gone. There's so much information, George. So, in trying to track any one thing in particular.
It's right there. It goes. Oh,
there it goes. Which is just the delight of it. Okay, so you can't hold on to things. What if you couldn't hold on to things? See, so and a belief is something you hold on to. So in feeling it loosen that way, and what that's like, and so much of what we pick up is assumptions, and it's not ours. Because we go back to being authentic, because in beingness, energy's got a little much easier because the body's invested in having the experience. And just I think what I'm noticing, George, is an opening.
Good.
I think that's what that is. What are you noticing in this moment?
A softening. Abraham, if people familiar with Abraham Hicks' famous saying, a belief is a thought you just keep on thinking. So I say incrementally think different thoughts. A Course in Miracles has you think a different thought every day for a year. Now, you don't have to believe that thought. Just think it. Mm-hmm. Just think it. Well, I don't believe in that. Well, okay, just think the thought and then go on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. But to soften and to open, and here, do this. There you go. There you go. Anybody who's listening to this now can perceive this if they so choose. Cleanse, heal, change. Right there. That's cool. That's cool. That was cool.
What I was just, the thought was, George, okay, that you tagged it right there, was that when you let things be easy, when things are flow-oriented, well, there it goes. That's really, I don't want to work that hard. Keep track of that one. Yeah, that is the epitome of what that is. When you let go of belief, which has value, it's the letting go of the belief that brings such a relaxation in. That's pretty neat, George. Thank you.
When I work with people, I do a little pre-talk before I start doing it.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you.
Okay, is this better?
Yeah, that's better. Okay.
When I work with people, there are a few things that I do before I ever lay hands on them or mm-hmm. give them some instruction. And one of the things is that there's an imaginary shelf over here. Go ahead and put on that shelf your need to know exactly how things are going to work, your need to know exactly what I'm doing. But the final one is not being right, but it's your need to be right. Mm-hmm. If you could put that on the shelf, now it's just a shelf, so if you need it, again, you don't have to open it, it's just right there, it's nice and handy. But if you put your need to be right, if you can set that on that shelf just for a little bit, then, wow, you're open. It takes me back to good old Matrix Energetics days, and Richard going, if you're confused, good. Now there's an opportunity for you to learn something. Because you're not, I don't know everything. No, you don't. None of us knows everything. And to the degree that we can go, I just don't know. Hooray! Hooray! Now you're open to learning new things. And you're open to receiving this new information that's available all the time. All the good stuff. And golly gee willikins, it'll amaze you how cool it is, how wonderful it is.
So okay, so I think... I sense my awareness is that any exchange that happens of taking in new information is also the letting go of something. Mm-hmm. The story, the issue, the whatever it was, there's like this fair exchange going on. And if we tend to think of it like that, because I think what's so stuck, hard, rigid feeling, I guess, is that we embody our beliefs, that we don't know who we are without a belief. Self-identity gets tied up in all of that. And in making it good. That's the word that comes to mind. To let go and ease back a bit and realize, okay, so this is what's been catching my attention is our self-talk. When you can pay attention without the agenda to validate. Okay,
Amen.
That's what mind does. That's what self does.
Yeah.
It's there to validate.
Yeah.
And when you put that aside and you can see what seems so stationary and you realize that it's like the heat waves and it starts to soften, and the delusion you've been running, because everything is illusional, so the self-delusion is the one that's keeping us trapped in some way. And the self-illusion that is, oh, okay, all right, I got this. I know how all this works. And it's self-awareness. So it's the difference between the two. How we hold all this in ways that we're not aware of. So everybody, as you think you're listening, think you're hearing, trying to track this, trying to follow this, whatever your words are, just let go of all that. Just really let go. Just let. So, in terms of healing, we're going to think in terms, usually people think in terms of physical health. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, that's really about health as part of wholeness. And yeah, it's not fun when we stub our toe and break our leg and do all those things. But what if it was? What if you were appreciating your creativity? What if you allowed yourself to go there? And I think you were talking earlier, George, about, well, that's in the field someplace, about enjoying, just notice.
I like to talk about enjoying. I like to enjoy.
Yeah.
And we have that option. We have that option. Oh, okay. Yeah. Very much so. And whether it's tragedy, we have to get past what something looks like and how we've empowered it. And I can see where, in this case, if we could each stop and observe whatever we think we are, and however we're going to classify that, and say, oh, I have a concern. If you change it from a problem to a concern, that might make a little bit of a difference. And if you take it to, oh, well, that seems to be challenging me. What it's challenging is your behavior and your thinking and the way you have got things lined up. So what happens when you stub your toe and you're in a moment of pain is an awareness that perhaps you're out of alignment in some way, and you've manifested it physically. But what we come back to always is how we are being. And if we embrace it as such, and then we go, ooh, that's staying, and let me call George here, and let's put someone who doesn't have a bias in it, and just allow for the healing that can be. And what happens with the awareness that comes out of that exchange, I think, George, is where the beauty is, right? Because we can let go of the pain, but it's really what we gain, that wisdom that shows up, that's going to be there, that you are introducing people into. You can take it to that level. So many people are just going to go, okay, my foot feels better. But they're really not paying attention to how, in the big scheme of things, that's their creative energy in its dynamic expressing itself. Which I think is what... And it's not as important as we the importance that we tend to place on it is my understanding of the specifics and what exactly happened. Okay, yeah, and the awareness of there's wisdom, because the good thing about the wisdom and I don't know, I feel lighter. Okay, that's one way to describe it. Then okay, good. Then go with that, and then maintain that. Yeah. And then don't go back looking for the pain, because the 3 rules: ask and it's given, seek and you'll find, knock and it'll be open. You go looking for the pain, you're going to find some. You go looking for the disease. I had this disease and now it doesn't hurt anymore, but if I study and strain and look real hard, I'll probably be able to find it. Yes, you will. Don't go there.
That's collapsing that field again, right? You're back into the you have to.
Easier said than done, but anybody can.
Yeah. Easier said than done. Yeah. So now what do we notice? What's catching your attention, George?
Nutrition. I finished my sparkling water, and the little label says nutrition, serving size 1 calorie 0, because nutrition's important. Golly gee Willikin, you talk about this focused mind healing, which is how we started with. One of the things that's a focused mind healing thing that Richard used in a matrix energetic seminar was, okay, your tummy's by, okay, here's this imaginary ginger pill, because ginger will settle your stomach. Just go ahead and eat this imaginary ginger pill. Oh, okay. And then your nausea will just settle down. Well, what happened? You changed your state of mind. Okay? Because you know that ginger helps settle the stomach, and you can take ginger, will settle your stomach, but I don't have any ginger. Okay, fine. Just imagine a little capsule of ginger. Because imagination, that's how thoughts become things, boys and girls. They do, okay? And you can't have ginger capsules unless someone imagined that they would create some, and they got to grind the ginger, and they put it in a capsule, and put it in a bottle, and you buy it at the health food store and so on. But things work. And so nutrition is so important. And we in the feeling, in the healing arts and in the woo-woo type stuff, consciousness technology is really important. However, let's not fail to integrate the things that we know from other sources, like allopathic medicine. If I break my arm, I'm going to go to the doctor, they're going to x-ray, and they're going to put a cast on it, okay? Because that's okay. I can work with a cast, okay? I'm not intending to break my arm. Thank God my tendons and muscles are just functioning better and better. All my internal organs function wonderfully. My range of motion continues to improve. My respiratory and circulatory systems just continue to improve every day in every way. I'm getting better and better. So I'm just talking to myself. You talked a little bit earlier about self-talk. One of my guided meditations is just focusing on all the good things that are happening as if they already are. That's what prayer is. If you do it right, you think from the end. Imagine yourself surrounded by the conditions you want to produce. Feel how it feels to already have whatever it is you want, which is easier said than done, but you practice it and you get better with practice. I do. I imagine others do.
Right. Yeah, so you're mentioning, imagination works really well when you're letting it take you to the state of reality of what you're imagining as real. It is not a frivolous thing, right? Mind doesn't know the difference. So when you bring awareness to it and go, okay, let me just focus here and what shows up, and you play with that, and that is real in that state of awareness, it can affect all your other states of awareness that you're holding. And so those situations where health is a reflection of our mind and our thinking and our stories, and where, yes, something happens and you break the leg, how that fits in, and we can resolve it. We can resolve it by going to the allopathic. We might be able to resolve it with, if you've got your skill set there, in just moving of the hands, and all of us, that do this kind of work, we can go there and enjoying that. Interesting, George. There's things up, definitely. Focus. Oh, yeah, I guess so.
And there's confirmation.
There's confirmation. So I trust in that very much.
So everything that happened up to this point was true and correct. All right, good to know.
We got it. We've heard it from above or someplace out there. So, all right. Anything else that comes to mind, or does this feel like a good place to?
I think that's great. And just jumping back to the Focus Mind Healing, I'll refer folks to Joe Dispenza's current work. And he talks about imagining and what he did with his body. If people don't know his story. Oh, that's right.
Yes, he had quite a story.
He did what Harold would tell you and what I would tell you. He did. He used focused mind healing on his body. And if you'll hear his story about what he did, and I don't have time to go into it, but it's free on YouTube and stuff. But his current book, Becoming Supernatural, he talks about the process of using imagination and going into those states and thinking from the end, and then has a gazillion, maybe that's a little bit exaggerated, but numbers of testimonials from people with, this, and this, and then now, boom, it's different. Not all in one afternoon, but yeah.
And I think what's strong that we're supportive in that healing shows up in lots of different modalities.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to just be one or to the exclusion of others. And
absolutely.
So you have a headache, you take the aspirin, and you also notice, oh, it's gone, right? Mm-hmm. and because you're in a state of where you know that you can play in these different parameters. And so we want to leave people with the awareness that if you're paying attention, there's probably a lot of places where you stub your toe or something and you thought for a moment, oh, okay, it'll be all right. And then you don't notice it anymore. And it was because you gave it permission to just be all right, often is the key.
And put your focus elsewhere.
Put your focus elsewhere, yeah.
Valuable.
So, thank you, George. It was a lovely, lovely hour, or thereabouts. I have no idea of time.
It's about an hour. Yeah.
About an hour of sharing with us your wonderful awareness of the field of life and what all those elements are. So, thank you.
I love doing it. I absolutely love doing it.
Yeah. So, George, how can people get a hold of you, and did you want to close with? For information to share?
They can get a hold of me if they promise to hug me gently. They can go to www.iwantjoy.com. That's easy to remember. It's an easy website. There are a number of free resources and concepts and explanations and articles and videos, also videos on my YouTube channel, which if you'll Google George B. Thomas Jr., there's a Georgie Thomas, there's a flock of people who are trying to be me, but I'm the original. George B. Thomas Jr. is the YouTube channel, and my primary website is iwantjoy.com. But we're very pleased to have a guided meditation now in the Spanish language that's on there, which is a translation of my original guided meditation that I put out several years ago, but that's free for anybody. And if it doesn't resonate with you, don't do it. And if it puts you to sleep, it's because you needed the rest. But using things like that to modify our thinking, to tell ourselves the truth about ourselves, that we are loved, that we are appreciated, that everything good can and will happen to us and for us according to our belief, according to what we focus on, according to what our interest in. If we're tuned into the news 24/7, and their job, the news, it's right on the back of the camera there, your job is to scare these people. Scare them, keep them in fear. Then sure enough, you're going to find that you're going to have problems. Oh, here's another problem. There's another. You're focused on, there's more problems. But by law of magnetic attraction, you begin to incrementally revise that and find out, what a beautiful day. It's raining. Yeah, that because it's cleaning up the air, giving water to all those plants, and they're going to make oxygen for us to breathe. How cool is this? So, iwantjoy.com and George B. Thomas Jr. and other things too numerous to mention to the untrained mind. Janet, it's been more fun than getting sick, I promise you. I've had fun. Thank you. Thank
you so much, George. It's been a delight, as always. strong influences this episode for George is first focused mind healing, which was taught at the Ozark Research Institute. Probably still is now that I think about it. It uses modified protocols described in the Ancient Secrets of Psychic Healing by Benjamin Bibb and Joseph Weed. This practice integrates imagination and the system, meaning an array of other than physical energy, entities, and devices. Although not well understood by the general public, the results are often astounding and are not dependent on the beliefs of the client. This can be greatly beneficial when working with a non-believer and can be helpful in alleviating a myriad of physical concerns. His second influence is the Ozark Research Institute that was founded by Harold McCoy. The Institute is chartered to study and teach the power of mind as it pertains to spontaneous remission or miraculous healing of chronic or life-threatening diseases, as well as all other manners of mind phenomena. And then for more information on the concept of remote healing, see the article by Meryl Landau at George's website, iwantjoy.com. Love, intention, which is the best, highest good for the client, emotion, and imagination are the foundations of focused mind healing. It employs imagination and intent with the underlying component of agape, outgoing concern, to revise physical structures, muscles, ligaments, cartilage, bone, and other tissue towards their optimal configuration. Here are a couple of quotes about healing to enjoy. We are never more than a belief away from our greatest love, deepest healing, and most profound miracles. That's Greg Braden. And the body has an amazing capacity to heal itself. And that was Harold McCoy of the Ozark Research Institute. Episode 42 blog is accessing all our healing dynamics. You can read it at www.janetandbeyond.com blog page and hear it at my YouTube channel, Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet Barrett. We all know about how our state of mind is valuable in illness and disease processes. When it is in alignment with the healing modality being used, our mind can make all the difference. Our featured meditation this week is Imaginary Acupuncture from the Meditation Archive at Interlude, an internet retreat.
Imaginary Acupuncture. Driving to work on a cool and damp spring day, the commuter coughed several times on the way to work, and then sneezed just before finding his parking place. Thinking he might be getting a cold, he decided his immune system needed assistance. He had slept well enough, had a good breakfast, and had taken his vitamins that morning. But that might not have been enough. Coughing, sneezing, muscle tension, aches, and pains can mean that all is not well with the body's energy system. In Chinese medicine, acupuncture is one of the tools for restoring a healthy balance in the qi system, the flowing bioenergy that is our life force. So instead of worrying about getting a cold and visualizing the negative consequences of having a cold, which would generate negative emotion and likely suppress the immune system, our sneezy commuter gave himself an imaginary acupuncture treatment. For just a few moments, he stood upright and visualized an unseen expert acupuncturist placing needles at various points on his body. Not being an acupuncturist himself, but having had some treatments, he trusted that his body would know where the flow of qi was impaired and where the imaginary needles would have to go to assist. And that was the end of the coughing and sneezing. Does this prove anything? No. But it suggests a tool we might use to give our energy body a tweak when we aren't feeling our best. If one were to do this as a meditation, it might go like this. Find a comfortable position. It can be sitting, standing, or lying down. And the important thing is that your spine be erect so that all forms of energy in your body can flow unhindered. As you would unkink a hose to allow the water to flow through it, put your body in a position where there would be minimal restriction in the flow of blood, lymph, or nerve impulses. Support yourself emotionally by inviting a state of mind that is calm and confident. Health is natural. It's your default state. Release any fear thoughts about your health by turning your attention away from them to images of your preferred state of wellness. Take a few slower, deeper breaths and become aware of the sensations of your body. Notice where there might be tension, pain, congestion, coolness, warmth, dampness, or dryness. Maybe in your mind you sense areas of light or darkness in your energy field. There might be differences in color in your mental image of your body. Perhaps you notice that some parts of your body are just not part of your usual awareness and are faint in your mental representation of your body. Form the intention in your mind that all parts of your body share in the flow of good health. Now you might imagine that you are receiving an acupuncture treatment from a highly skilled acupuncturist. Even though you may not know a great deal about Chinese medicine, this wise and highly skilled acupuncturist you are imagining is the heir to thousands of years of Chinese medical knowledge. He or she will know where to place the needles. You need only imagine that the needles are placed and that they will enhance the flow of your vital force. What we vividly imagine, our body-mind treats as real. If you imagine that energy is flowing and harmony is being restored, perhaps it will be.
You can call or text George at 281-786-6211 or email him at george@iwantjoy.com. His website is www.iwantjoy.com. His YouTube channel is George B. Thomas Jr. and his two Facebook pages, www.facebook.com/miraclesman and www.facebook.com/seekingtransformation. Remember, you can check our website page for this podcast episode, and all the links will be there. Thank you for joining me here at Journeys to Enlightenment with Janet. A new episode is released every 2 weeks. Any questions or thoughts or guests you'd like to suggest, you can email me directly at janetandbeyondpodcast@outlook.com. For more information about all the elements that make up each episode, they are on my podcast page at my website, www.janetandbeyond.com. While there, you will also find information about my other podcast show, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and all about my work with clients. You can sign up to receive my regular weekly blog, Life in the Beyond, Journeys into Enlightenment. If you're looking for other regular opportunities to sit in heart-centered awareness with myself and others, you can join us in my Fuzzy Photons playground groups I offer on Wednesdays. Live interactive space via Zoom video conferencing. You can follow each episode of this podcast series on my YouTube channel, Journeys into Enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Till the next time, notice what feels different right in this moment. It is real, and it can last a lifetime.